Hi, my name is Rebecca Moses, and I'm excited to share with you about my research topic, which was angry beings. So, to start off, anger isn't just some random emotion that we feel, it's deeply ingrained in our biology, dating back thousands of generations. Now, picture this: our primal ancestors had to use anger to survive. It was like their built in alarm system, alarming them to threats and helping them to assess their dominance in competitive situations, which is pretty wild, right? But now here's where the question stands of where does this anger reside within our brains? Well, now this is where Swiss psychologist Walter Hesch comes in. He had made this groundbreaking discovery in 1920s where he discovered that there was a specific spot within the hypothalamus of our brain. And this spot is where violent aggression is released. This spot is also responsible for our powerful urges such as sex, eating, and drinking. It's like our primal control center in a way. Now, here is where things get interesting. Now, while we might think we're more civilized than animals, our brains still retain the same primal instinct. We share pretty common neurochemicals and brain structures with certain animals, which goes to play very pivotal roles in how we express and regulate our anger. So, in a way, anger is a shared heritage that we share with other animals. Now, let's fast forward to modern day times. From ancient conflicts for resources to modern day gang violence, we could say that anger has adapted through our complex society. You could say that anger could be related to a chameleon in a way, for it changes its colors to fit the environment that it's in. And speaking of environments, did you know that our upbringing and our cultural influences shape the way that we express angers today? For instance, the expression of anger in some cultures or some families is totally acceptable, while in others it's seen as a sign of immaturity. Philosophers such as Aristotle and Plato had their own take on anger themselves, highlighting their situational nature and its potential for good or bad outcomes. It can be seen as a double-edged sword that we need to be careful of. Now, what happens when anger goes unchecked? Well, it could lead to pretty serious consequences, which is linked to chronic anger, which could lead to stress, increased blood pressure, and even psychological disorders such as depression and PTSD. That's why it's really important to address anger with resilience and empathy. So, how can we truly handle our anger efficiently? Well, there are plenty of strategies out there, like mindful techniques and cognitive behavioral therapy. By developing awareness of our emotional triggers and learning to refrain from negative thoughts, we could take control of our anger and prevent it from spiraling out of control. But here's the real kicker: anger isn't just an individual problem. It could also have wider societal implications, especially when it could lead to abuse and violence. That's why it's really crucial for us to break the cycle of anger and to create a safer and healthier environment for everyone. Now, let's dive deeper into the developmental trajectory of anger. So, anger is a complex emotion that has been undergoing significant development from infancy to our now adulthood. As infants, anger is typically expressed as distress to limits, irritability, and just a negative response to frustration. So basically, just imagine a baby crying or screaming because their needs are met. That's basically their way of expressing their anger. Guardians play a really crucial role in early experiences with shaping their anger and how they regulate, which is done through sensitive responsiveness to their needs. When caregivers respond with empathy and understanding, it sets the foundation for healthy emotional regulation. As children grow into early childhood, they develop more vocal and physical ways of expressing themselves. The way that they learn to cope with this anger during this stage of their life is is crucial and can basically shape the way that they express their anger in the future. And therefore, children that witness adults that effectively manage their anger through calm communication and problem solving skills will most likely adopt this similar way of managing their anger in their current day lives. Now, as adults, our anger is basically conveyed based off of our developmental factors, including early attachment experiences, familial socialization, and cultural backgrounds. By understanding the developmental trajectory of anger, we can develop and promote a more healthy way of dealing with anger from a much early age in childhood. So whether we're just dealing with a tantrum from a toddler or just simple frustration from adulthood, the way that we address anger is really important. What I found interesting, however, through my research was that there were many stories, myths, and religious beliefs that play a central role in shaping humans' interaction, expression, and social dynamic with anger since the beginning of recorded history. For instance, anger has served as an instrument for moral order, as cast in religious narratives and works of art, literature, and dramas, and as legitimized in social rules. But despite the depths of our knowledge of the representation of anger in these works, philosophers still have a difficulty with grappling with the complexity of human anger. Through this, they have had difficulty with defining what the purpose of anger is. Now, through the research of this topic, I chose to dive deeper into the dark side of anger and explore how untreated anger can transform into a dangerous entity, becoming a risk now to those around us. As stated previously, untreated anger can turn into abuse, whether it's to oneself or onto someone else. Many abusers aren't practiced in expressing their anger appropriately, which in turn means they struggle to manage their anger. However, this pent-up anger, in turn, often erupts into physical or verbal violence. This abusive behavior serves as a way for the abuser to feel like they're in control of their life and their situation. It's a way for them to gain control of their emotions, their frustration, and just gain overall power over the situation. Often, these abusers have learned this destructive pattern of violence from the way people express anger around them, or experiences from their past, creating a cycle of abuse that spans generations. In many situations, individuals with unresolved anger draws from their past experiences and grievances, which in turn allows for their unresolved anger to be conveyed in their present day outburst. By channeling this unresolved anger from their past into their current day anger, abusers act out from their parents' past anger, when in reality it's the rage from their past that fuels their current day anger. This goes to depict the abuser's suffering, trapping them in turn in a pattern of destructive behavior and emotional turmoil. Breaking free from this cycle requires a comprehension approach that addresses the underlying cause of this anger and provides support and resources for both the victim and the abuser. Through education, interventions, and support, we can work towards breaking this cycle of abuse and create a much safer and healthier environment for all individuals. For it's about understanding this anger, and that it isn't just about managing these emotions. It's about healing wounds and breaking the chains of the past. So, to conclude, anger is a universal emotion that has shaped our past but will continue to influence our present. By unraveling its complexities, we can gain a deeper understanding of human nature, and we could go to pave a way for a much peaceful future.